Hello, welcome.
Hello.
How you
Good to be
doing?
with you. I am really great.
Oh,
Like,
good. Do you want to give us a little recap on who you are and what you do?
sure. My name is Kaylene McCaw. And you know, what I do is one of those really good questions because I've always done kind of so many things. And that's for me, that's sort of been the blessing of this time is it's all kind of coming together into one story,
Yeah.
as all of our timelines wind down into one big story. Um, I'm an intuitive, I guess is probably the simplest way to say it. I've always been hooked in with station WGOD and had all kinds of adventures along that route, high, low, been everywhere. I feel like I've been reincarnated in this body about 780 times, played every role that there is in the big drama. I've been all the bad guys and been all the good guys, and now I'm, trying the being myself thing. My connection with Wild Ginger is that a while back, I did one of my solo plays
Hmm.
in the space. And I just want to honor you for the amazing ability you have as an encourager and an enabler in the positive sense of the terms. Your presence makes it so obvious that things are possible that you say, well, okay, and you just start stepping into your possibility. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been great kind of seeing some of the work that you're doing in the last couple weeks because it seems like you're creating a lot more virtual content and sharing of your gifts to the masses. And I that's been a great treat. Do you want to touch on some of the things that you do within that and some of your music therapy and all the different tools that you use?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been really neat because for a while it's been really frustrating for me because I've tried to do all these things that I know are my calling, and it's like, why hasn't anything worked? It's like, oh, because my time is now. Oh, so now as I realize it's like, okay, all the things that I said too early, now I need to say again, I can go back and I pick up all my tools and I already did my learning curve. And it's like, even the Facebook page for my podcast, it's like, it's still there. I just unpunished it. So it's like, click, 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 online, here we go. So I'm doing a podcast called Into the Mystic,
Okay.
where I've had my first conversation, and I plan to have a series of conversations with people who I know well, you're not 100% on the same page with anybody, right? So to specifically demonstrate what it's like to agree to disagree disagreeably, to find a common place between me and people who, I've definitely had a bone to pick with in the past, and just point the way forward. And it's been real exciting. I also, well, I do out of my house called Wildwood Gardens. And that was a thing that just kind of, I mean, it was really beautiful the way it came to me, the kind of thing you always hope is going to happen. Basically, the sky opened up and a hand reached down and said, here's your next step. And it's like, thank you, because I got to bypass all my self-doubt. It was just so obvious. It's like, take this and run, my child. And it came in with this whole raft of new guides, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and higher and higher. And right now, I'm doing work with people who are kind of outside the fear narrative, who, secretly have come to my house, and I won't tell you who they are in case someday that's illegal, but, and like standing for the collective and find that we've really been able to shift big stuff. Very exciting. Going to do my first virtual session with somebody as a birthday present coming up this week, realizing if other people can do it, it must be possible. So, my guides
Yeah.
will show me how. And I guess that's what's been coming through with what I've been posting on social media is as these healing songs come through, just delivering them out to people and saying, here, take this and go with it. And it's been just a thrilling time to be alive. I've
Yeah.
also gone back into my writing. There's a second book. I have a book, shameless plug here. It's called The Human Experience Quick Start Guide. Everything I know in 44 pages, and half of them are pictures. The simplest way to express the timeless truth without triggering everybody's bullshit. So it puts things in tech support terms, which is kind of where I came to when I started asking the big questions. So I've been working on a follow-up to that for a long time, and I've got bits and pieces, and for a while it's been sitting on my dining room table and saying, I know it's something, but I don't know what it is. But as this situation unfolds around it, it's like, oh, now I see. So that's starting to come forward as kind of the summation of this whole experience. So that'll be released, I don't know, before too long.
Perfect. How did you find this path, or when did you start? I mean, obviously you've been intuitive probably your whole life, but when did you start working in this realm and sharing it? I know you have acting background, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I guess that's really is where it started. You know, I started where I was. I knew I had this message for the world. It's like, well, I'm a performer, you know, people watch me talk. It's like, I'll do that. So I wrote a couple of solo plays. The first one was called Guidance on Demand, which ends up being what I call the group that I channel, Guidance on Demand.
uh-huh.
It's a term that I came to after I had a really traumatic experience with the church. I mean, you know, all the best, big, wonderful, beautiful stuff that now I realize it's like, no, I'm taking that back because that was good. And then all the big, dark, nasty, soul crushing stuff too. So on the other side of that experience, I couldn't really say the G word without throwing up in my mouth a little bit for about 6 years. And then I kind of came to and said, wait a minute, the good stuff was really good. And I wouldn't have been through that experience unless it was mine to take back. And that's where I came up with, well, that first solo play, Guidance on Demand, was basically presented as a session with universal tech support, you know, with some downloads that we need to fix the chronic mental issues, you know, issues with the human experience. And that's kind of the format that has stayed around all of my work. And it moved from the live performances to, I did a radio show for a while, and that's where I got to practice that interview format and talking to people. During that time, I got to go on the street with a little microphone and interview strangers. And it's like everything that I've done is kind of coming back now as it's like, oh, this is what it was for. This is where I was going.
Perfect. I love it. And then maybe some of that stuff will be re-released with all your new virtual offerings.
Exactly. I'm going back. Well, I'm kind of letting Facebook do it, you know, because they say, remember this? It's like, oh yeah, maybe it's time for that now. And I put it out and it's like, lo, it's what people are ready for. That's just sort of been my trajectory all along. And now I'm at peace with it. It's my job to be out of sync with the collective so that I've already done the work when the need is ready. So I can say, oh, yeah, here. You know, because all I've really ever been able to do in my life is work on the issues that collectively we really need to resolve right now.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, you know. And so I can, without being flippant, it's like as much of my suffering as you need to hear to believe in my credibility, but, you know, I'd rather not go there because it's over. I have been seeking the simplest version of medicine to offer. Because, you know, my father was an engineer and a really good one. And I got the chip from him. I call it that, you know, the DNA, the ability to just intuitively analyze a system and feel what the smallest possible change you can make in the key place that will affect the biggest change. So that's kind of how I seek as I'm looking for answers. And what I've come to in terms of this like crisis of awareness that we're in right now is that the simplest change I can make, well, there are lots of ways of looking at it, is to shift from the perspective that I have to do something to the perspective that I am the gatekeeper and I get to let something happen. I'm the chooser. And as I choose profoundly in my own sovereignty for myself, because I am the storyteller, that if I tell a story that's good enough, then everybody else is just included in my wonderful story. And y'all have whatever experience you want. But in my world, we are heading for such a transformation of bliss and beauty that y'all gonna be cheering when the moment comes that we got to be here. It's like, it has to look like something terrible is happening before we get there, because otherwise it's just bad theater.
Yeah.
That's what I'm holding on to, is that for this story to end any other way, but in like a tumbling head over heels, all of a sudden land on my feet and spike the turn. Yes, I meant to do that. Now let's all sing together in the flash mob at the end of time. Da, 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 da. Anything less than that is just bad writing, and I'm not going to have it.
Perfect. I think that that's what people need to hear in this, is kind of like a little bit more and an exciting, lively twist to it, instead of it just feeling so dark and heavy in the process of this personal evolution, whether in the time that we're in now or just all of our life experience, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be darkness. I mean, because darkness is what makes the light possible, or darkness is an aspect of the light.
Sure.
And I think that's part of what we have to come to grips with. We would not be seeing, I mean, whatever you're seeing, and I know people are seeing different things. That's kind of part of the big crazy that's starting to come down. It's like I'm realizing, it's like, oh, I'm in a different world than most of my friends. It's like, wow, okay. So the first, I mean, because I've already fought this battle and, trying to be a social media star before my time, that I've realized ain't my job to change your minds. It's my job to be me. So it's like, again, what is the medicine that is needed? If what has to happen is that we all deal with our own version of reality, the medicine is joy. The medicine is love. The medicine is hope. The medicine, as I think of it in my sound healing practice, is flow. That flow of energy that comes from when you allow the yin and the yang, the male and the female, the light and the dark to move together. Because if they're not moving together, the machine's just not turned on. And when the machine is turned on, it produces bliss. It's a good machine. We've just been afraid of what it does because, we had some bad data.
Yeah. And so I was going to ask you, of all the different work that you do, what is your absolute current favorite, or what lights you up the most? And I know the sound healing is a new element to your offerings. So maybe that's part of it, or you want to touch on that more?
Yeah. I think that informs everything else that I'm doing right now, because it is so profound and all-encompassing. Yeah, I think it's opened my eyes to how much power is in something that seems so small and so gentle. Because by infusing any system, my own thought, my own body, the atmosphere of this room, the collective, with the harmony of music and the flow that it creates, there's an entrainment that happens. As I don't have to do anything. I just have to be here in the presence of this sound wave, which is coherent, and it is a representation of this place we all want to get together. It holds the space, and I bring it into the space, and I put my intention into that living, invisible, the sound form. And if you're ready to receive it, it entrains your own energy body into wholeness and flow, and beauty just is allowed to happen, and there's no resistance for flow. That's the superpower. That's the quantum yin that Kuan Yin has bringing in her little vial. Is like, I am bringing perfect flow because I resolve my shit. Mm-hmm. And I can just give that to you as the and that is the gift that I'm hoping to come out of this able to offer people, is the active presence of flow, the yes power that is the reemergent divine feminine. Is if that's what I give to any situation, instead of trying to stop the bad guys or trying to slap myself so I wake up, or all the stuff we do, the most powerful substance, energetic substance we can bring to all of this is flow, yin power, yes power, which arises with inside of the awareness that there is such a thing. It's like, yeah, there's darkness because it shows us the edge of beauty. And when your beauty gets coherent enough, when your flow is flowy enough, when you've practiced it enough where it is the momentum, well, then all of that darkness takes its place inside the flow as the fuel for the next leg of our journey.
Hmm.
The whole reason that all of this stuff was allowed to happen was so it would be here for us now, when we become aware of the great big capital P plan that has always been in place, is still working perfectly. And at the ordained moment, we'll realize it's like, if I'm willing to make the sacrifice to lay down my story in which I'm a victim and pick up the story in which I am the beloved child of the Most High. I mean, and that can be a pretty big sacrifice, when you're invested in hating God. That's a big deal. But if I'm willing to make that exchange, then I can pick up a world in which it just keeps on getting better from here.
Yeah.
Because as near as I can tell, we really have already walked into the new world. And the unraveling that we see around us is the shedding of the old skin. And, you can suffer as much as you need to, and you will. And there's nothing wrong with that. If because at the end of it all, there will come this time when we all just look at each other and say, yeah, that's my story.
I think after this era that we're in right now, it's going to be 10 times more of that than we even maybe pictured a couple months ago, right?
I don't think we even know how to imagine how cool things are going to be from here on out.
I agree. I mean, for all the challenges and the things that are evolving during this, it's shining so much light and awareness to so many different areas about ourselves, about our loved ones, about our lives, about what we're choosing. And, that's why these calls have been so fun for me, because I'm touching base with people who have been working their entire lives to really get closer to what it is that lights them up, what this soul work is. But now, in the light of this, this crisis or pandemic or whatever it is that you want to reframe this era as, it's just the opportunity to get even more solid about these beliefs and this trust and the flow and the allowance of all the goodness that has already begun and will continue if we just keep sticking with it, right? Like, this is the ultimate test.
It really is. That's kind of how I see it. It's the final exam.
Yeah.
And, because we inherited a story that tells us, okay, you are really bad at this. So we have this guy, Jesus, see, who he was good at it, and you get to cheat by submitting his score and it'll all be okay. Which works for a while, but the thing is, at the end of the round, which is where we are now, there is a practical exam.
Sure.
And either you can actually do that forgiveness thing, forgive them for they know not what they do. It's like that was his answer. It's like either we know how to do that or we don't. And if you don't, you're going to go through another round of, I do not want any more of that. Which, when we program our world that way, it's all full of whatever it is we do not want, because how else do you make it go away? You start out your round with all the stuff that you're hating on. And it's a lot more expedient to take this pause, this beautiful, divinely ordained pause in the editing room and say, okay, so how do I translate that into what I want? I mean, especially today, it's Earth Day. It's the biggest new moon there's been in like 1 billion years. It is the opportunity for us to call down the corridors of time and say, speak to our great, great, great grandchildren or our future self. It's like, I'm going to meet you there in that field of grace, and to send our dreams into this place of manifestation so they're there to meet us. Because we're going to walk into the world that we made, and it works better when you make it on purpose.
Yeah. So with that being said, and all those wise words of manifestation and following your passion and making it happen, are there still things that come up for you that that maybe cause you to get in your own way when it comes to what's next in your creation of work and gifts and tools?
They get in my way, but I've been able to frame a story where they're in my way because they're the work I have to do.
Sure.
So, it's like the primary ones that I'm going around now is realizing that, okay, given that, this story that I just told about, the story I tell is the most powerful thing, realize that anybody who I love that I'm worrying about, that's on me. Because I'm telling a story about back when they were broken and so suffering. And if I hang on to that, then if they keep on suffering, that's my story that did that. Holy cow. So yeah, like the opportunities to to just flush through all those files and let something better come in. And like to be okay with the fact that I can't connect with somebody who I really want to help, because that's the problem. Because I'm bringing this "you're broken, I need to fix you" energy. And it's like, whenever I am in the place of seeing that the plan is working and the plant is growing and there's so much beauty when the time is right, then we'll connect and, divine sparks fly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a excellent reminder for all of us, because we've all been in that situation where we have somebody that we're really desperate to help, or really feel like we can, or, whatever layer of that there is, but there's so much in the just allowing it to just be,
Mhm.
and to continue to do our own work in that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was, especially with the whole church thing, that was a big like breakthrough in my mental construct that I think it's important to offer alongside with all the, airy, fairy, happy stuff that I've said, is that the reason that we fail so terribly at letting go of the dark stuff is because we haven't made the investment in learning how to believe in goodness.
Yeah.
And, with all the garbage that we've all been through, it really is a challenge. We have been programmed to all the traditional kinds of goodness. We've been programmed to believe that, well, maybe for others, but not for me. And then you want to fight against your own sadness, and we stay stuck. So one of the things that helped me get through that was to frame the ultimate good in these abstract technological terms, like, beyond all the human stories. We are inside a world that is structured according to the golden ratio, to phi, to the flow of beauty, that it's an algorithm that has been set in motion, and it's simply not possible for anything to manifest that is not an expression of that beauty. And one of the ways we think of that is this Fibonacci spiral. I use this in my sound healing. I run the frequencies through it and put it, right over people's PowerPoints, and it reprograms the code inside your body according to beauty. And the cool thing about this math, this higher math, is you can start with absolutely anything. It does not matter how dark or ugly or broken or horrible it is. You start applying this algorithm, and by the time it takes 3 turns, 3 dimensions, 3 timelines, 3 turns, 3, it has begun to look like beauty. It's just, it's a law that is holding us and is at work, and that law cannot be broken. And the only thing I can really screw up is my ability to see it.
Yeah.
So, that's the F word, faith.
Yeah. How would you describe the work that you do in 3 words, or what 3 words embody the work that you do?
Letting goodness flow.
I'm sorry. Could you say that again?
Letting goodness flow.
Okay.
Letting goodness flow.
Yeah.
It encapsulates all of that. They're all like really powerful words. I am letting, I am allowing, as opposed to trying to make something happen. I'm letting goodness, putting my faith that there is an encompassing goodness. And then flow is this amazing power of momentum toward grace. And I'd like to actually offer that as a healing song.
Sure. Yeah. You've got a couple minutes left. Yeah.
Find the right tool. Well, I guess I'll do it here. I am letting goodness flow. I am letting goodness flow. Goodness is flowing to me. Goodness is flowing through me. Everything I need surrounds me. I am letting goodness flow. I am letting goodness flow.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And do you want to end with any guidance for people who are kind of new on the path to following their dreams or their passions, or maybe learning to follow their intuition or do spiritual work, whether personally or professionally? Any sort of advice or guidance that you'd have for those seekers?
I would fall back to the gift that Jesus gave us, which, would have been a big freaking trigger for me a few years ago. And I understand if it is for you. Getting over that is kind of a big deal right now, because this Christ person lives inside of us. And that awakening is the process that we're going through. Christ in me, the hope of glory, is what the old book says. Not out there trying to save me, Christ in me. That when he was going through his process, like we're going through now, what he offered the world was, it is finished. And that's kind of how I feel about the old world. The work has been done. What's going forward is the believing in it. And that's the only real doing we have to do now, is to learn how to receive.
And what does that look like in what's coming up for you?
You mean in terms of my work or the world?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, for you personally with your work.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah, it means that my job is to let go of the old role of the one who nobody understands, who's out of sync with time, who's just going to have to sit back and say, I could have told you if only you would have listened, and realize that it's like I do have a time and it's now. Coincidentally, this is my Saturn return. And Saturn's on the midheaven next to Saturn in Aquarius. So y'all puzzle that out in your own time. But it's like, okay, gotcha. I relaxing into the truth that I am, this is the way it was given to me. Becoming aware of the support that has always been around me, of the power that is willing to flow through me if I will let it flow.
And for all of us, truly.
Exactly.
It's a great reminder for all of us, because we are infinitely supported if we just allow and receive that.
Yeah.
That's one of the hardest lessons I have struggled with over the years, and just finally kind of nailing down. So I appreciate you echoing that in your words.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share with everyone before we wrap up?
Let's see. You can find out more about the work I'm doing at KayleneMcCaw.com. Where you'll find out about my sound healing and, all kinds of stuff. On Facebook is probably the easiest way to find my podcast called Into the Mystic. It's also on YouTube. And I'm just going to keep speaking what I've been given with the intention of being a blessing. Because, the more goodness I can put into the system, the more goodness the system's going to put into me.
Certainly. And you're sharing lots of your magic with us today. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yes.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.